Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to shade in Medibang. There are tons of different ways to shade, and a disclaimer is that this is just how I do it. There are tons of different methods, and probably better ones out there, but this is the general one that I tend to use for my drawings on most apps. So I doodled up just a little thing here. It's not great, but I'm going to use it to show examples of how I would do shading. So some people prefer to do it before the color layer, other people prefer to do it after they've done the color layer. For me, I like to color it in first and then make the color layer invisible when I'm doing all of this. So make a new layer for whatever layer you want your shading to be. It has to be underneath the liner, otherwise it's just not going to work out. For dark shading, I would recommend changing the blending mode to multiply. Set your color to something like a light purple or a light pink. Light red even, just that general sort of color ends up being really good for shading. Like this kind of color here. Then you're going to want to go in and do the actual shading. I know it looks weird that it's purple, but with the blending layer mode, once colors are in there, it will blend in a lot nicer. You can absolutely use the bucket when you are shading. With shading, firstly, it's good to have a general idea of where the light is coming from. So let's say it's coming from up here. This is our form of light. And it's going down here. So anything that's closest to this, if you imagine it being a 3D shape, will be the lighter parts, and parts that are further away from it are going to be darker. For example, all over here is going to be pretty dark, under here is going to be pretty dark, here's going to be dark, here's going to be dark, but these areas are going to be lighter because they are closer to the light source. Now to actually do it, once you have your color and everything, I would just sector off a section that you want to have a certain kind of dark shading. So right here for me, I'm going to sector this bit off. And then just fill it in with the bucket. Of course, you can change any pixelation that comes up right there. Get the big areas done first, ideally. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you should have a pretty good idea of how to do it now. Section parts off and just bucket them right in. You can do it by hand if you want to, of course, but I find that bucketing is a lot quicker unless you want to do some specific kind of shading. Once you have your biggest areas done, you're going to want to move on to the more small detailed areas. So let's just say this crease in the ear, that's probably going to have some shading on there because it's going to be an indent, so there's going to be some shade. Putting some right underneath the bits of hair can really help. It will make the hair look like it's a bit more there. Same like under things like noses, like this. And under the rest of the hair parts. It's really important, in my opinion, to get the stuff on the skin right, so just to shade things that are above the skin, it really helps. You can also choose where you want your own shadows to be. It doesn't have to be completely accurate. I sometimes do things that I know wouldn't be there just because I think they look nicer. This goes for things like clothing too. Clothing usually isn't super duper tight to the skin, so doing little bits of shading on there can be good. Then for the skin itself, it's going to cast shadows, so doing a shadow underneath the chin is usually a good way to go, like that. And then of course you're going to have shadows that aren't caused by other objects. So just the lower parts of areas, like the lower part of this ear, the lower part of this face, and then the lower areas of the hair. Of course, this isn't going to be perfect since I'm not putting tons of effort into this, as it's just an example. But this is generally the sort of vague process that I would usually go through. Also remember, you don't have to do it exactly like I do with every single detail. You don't need to do that. It can be just as pretty in totally different ways. Once you've got all your shading done, or all the parts that I'm going to be doing for this video anyway, sorted out, then you're going to want to obviously add in your colors or turn your visibility on for the color that you've had. So I very quickly just bucketed in some random colors here onto this color layer. Then you're going to want to activate your shading layer. As you can see here, having it on multiply does help. Then you're going to want to lower the opacity to whatever looks best for your specific colors. You can have it as a more harsh shading up here or as a much lighter shading down here. I tend to want to keep it at somewhere around the 30s and 40s as I think this looks nicest with most drawings. And that is why we tend to use the purple, because it just automatically blends nicely onto all the colors, or most colors anyway. And then that is how I do my shading. I'll probably do another video soon on how I do my highlights because I do those in a specific way too, but this is the general shading tutorial. I would generally avoid shading with black. It's something that a lot of artists start with. I even started shading with black on lower opacities too, but it doesn't look as nice as some other options, such as multiply. You don't even have to go for the specific colors I did. You can have a look around and see what looks nicest on your multiply layer for you. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, maybe consider supporting. Bye!